detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. If Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
And the blood...
All day, man, the machine has been trying to convince you that the election is over and that Kamala Harris won the debate, as if anybody actually won that debate. And here's the thing, man, no matter what side you find yourself on, you were probably surprised. I mean, probably surprised really just how blatant the 3-on-1 was. And you had to be surprised by Kamala. I mean, even if you are a Kamala Harris supporter, even if you believe in her, even if you plan to vote for her, you had to have been surprised that she didn't sound quite as dumb as usual. But honestly, I was very, very surprised. I think anyone who's been paying any real attention was surprised. And I think even she was surprised. She had to be surprised. And of course, you know, the liberal corporate media, they're already just pounding the drum, man, that the election is over. And they're trying to manufacture another period of fake energy and Kamala excitement, basically. And I hope that gets into her head. I hope that emboldens her to actually make herself more accessible and do more media, do some town halls, do more debates. I hope that she actually believes that she can do it, even though, you know, early focus grouping doesn't really show any clear winner or loser. And I think it's clear to me there were some losers. ABC is getting dragged pretty viciously on all the other networks. And I'll show you some of that. But first, you know, this is how the night went from just question one. You know, Kamala, she appeared disciplined. She was definitely well rehearsed, but she never actually answered anything.
Country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid. And I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month.
So the question was, are you better off now, today, than you were 4 years ago? Now, obviously, the answer is no. You know, she couldn't answer it, right? Which is shocking because she's possibly the one and only person in the whole entire world who actually is better off now than she was 4 years ago. But she couldn't answer the question, right? And the moderators, they let her get away with it, man. They would press Donald Trump on question after question. Every time you'd leave a question unanswered, they'd press him, but not her. And I think maybe they pressed her on one unanswered question, but basically, they let her stick to her script. They let her stick to her training. And I'll show you more of the debate in a moment, guys. But I've watched a lot of the reactions. I've watched a lot of the pundits. And I think Megyn Kelly actually put it more perfectly than anybody else.
I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted. I'm ashamed of those moderators at ABC News. They did exactly what their bosses wanted them to do. The person who runs ABC News is a close personal friend of Kamala Harris, that is responsible for Kamala Harris and her husband meeting. And they did Dana Walden's bidding tonight. It was 3 against 1 on that debate stage this evening. Hi, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly, a special program tonight for you reacting to the debate. It was 3 against 1. It's very easy to look like you know what you're doing when both moderators are entirely on your side. Trump did the best he could under the circumstances, but it really was like 3 fighters in the ring pummeling one opponent. And the worst piece of all of this is the obvious tactic by ABC News, which was as follows. Mr. Trump, you said something incredibly controversial and terrible. Let me remind you of what it was. Do you have any regrets or thoughts on how terrible you were? Trump answers. Vice President Harris, how bad is Trump? And then she'd answer. It happened over and over again. That was the format. Mr. Trump, you're a piece of shit. Kamala Harris, isn't he a shit? Thank you. It was incredible. And then anything Trump said, fact check, fact check, fact check. And their fact checks were full of shit.
Maybe not the most eloquent that she's ever sounded, right? But she's completely correct. That was exactly the format. And Kamala appears to have been prepared for the format to work exactly like that. And her training was good, man. You have to give credit where credit was due. You know, her handlers did a good job. Her trainers did a good job. They did a good job preparing her. And her training appears to have actually included, you know, what to do with her face while Donald Trump speaks. And I'm telling you, man, if anyone undecided was actually paying attention to her face, that alone might have been a mistake. That alone might actually send people to Trump. I mean, I'm going to show you, look at her pretend that everything he's saying is wrong. Everything he's saying is crazy. She wants you to basically believe that it's beneath her to even talk to the guy, to even be on the stage. But if you listen to his words while you watch her face, every single word he's saying is true.
They bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21.
It's all acting, man. And honestly, if you're seeing that and you're any kind of undecided person to the extent that that even exists, or even if you're an actual Kamala Harris supporter, this should concern you, man. It doesn't feel authentic. You know, we still don't have a clue who this woman is. She doesn't have a clue who she really is. And I mean, even when she tried to interrupt the guy, it appears forced. And hilariously, it doesn't end well for her. You know, everybody was expecting her to try and get one of her, excuse me, I'm talking kind of moments. And she did. She actually got a few of those moments.
She was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute. I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out in Minnesota.
She looks pretty confused there, man. That's probably her best face of the night. She cannot believe that happened. I mean, none of her handlers told her that would happen. It's pretty damn funny stuff. And here's the thing, man. I'm not sure how much any of that is going to hurt her. But what I do think may actually hurt her is the fact that the debate really did feel like a 3-on-1. Trump was fact-checked in real time and fact-checked constantly, which, of course, that's totally fine. But it was one-sided. She was not fact-checked about anything. She got to lie about everything and anything. I mean, COVID, the economy, Afghanistan, the border, January 6th, freaking Charlottesville. I mean, if you thought the Charlottesville hoax went away with Joe Biden, it didn't, of course. I mean, no fact check on any of these just very easily fact check statements. I mean, they didn't even think about it.
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists.
When he uttered those infamous words that there were very fine people on both sides of the protest, including, by extension, very fine people marching with the neo-Nazis and the white supremacists.
Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side.
It's actually freaking remarkable how long this one scam has continued. I mean, people who don't even remember what happened in Charlottesville or even probably know where the hell Charlottesville even is, somehow believe that Donald Trump revealed himself as some sort of rabid white racist in Charlottesville. I mean, it's the laziest damn thing, man. But she did it repeatedly, man. She did it with the dictator nonsense, with the bloodbath hoax. I mean, she just kept going back to the well, man, like just all the Democrat greatest hits and never got fact checked, not even one time.
100% of the stories covered on ABC about Kamala, 100% of the time was positive. 93% of the time when they covered you, it was negative. So it was infuriating to watch them fact check you and not her when she brought up IVF, when she brought up Project 2025 several times, and when she brought up Charlottesville. Here are some of the lies that she said about you. Listen.
A detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. If Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
And the bloodbath, you were talking about the economy. It's a term that's used a lot when people are talking about a bad economy. What's your reaction to why didn't the moderators correct her?
Because they're dishonest, and because I think ABC took a big hit last night. I mean, to be honest, they're a news organization. They have to be licensed to do it. They ought to take away their license for the way they did that.
I mean, what can you even say to that, man? I mean, clearly all lies. You know, most of them just as lazy and egregious, you know, as bloodbath, very fine people. Basically, all the leftist greatest hits, right? And the worst, probably the worst part, you know, talking about police officers dying at the Capitol. That is just, it's insane. I mean, there are sick and twisted lifelong victims of these propagandists that actually believe this stuff, right? And now Kamala wants another debate because she thinks that she won, right? And honestly, I think a debate should happen, but it has got to happen in a fair place, in front of fair moderators. They got to work out some sort of rules that actually make sense. Republicans have got to stop being so resigned to just the way things are, right? They got to stop walking in to these ridiculous situations where the candidate has to debate every single freaking person in the room. I mean, it makes no sense. I mean, people see what's actually happening, right? But I'm not sure enough people actually see it. I mean, it's tough. Even when you know what's going on, even when you know what to expect to happen, it's tough to watch one guy get fact-checked and bombarded with ridiculous questions while the other one just delivers a script basically for almost 2 hours. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that really can drive you crazy. But that's all I got, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.